Oh wow, that looks like a nice weather over there.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So so the weather should be quite nice right now, yeah?
You know,
In San
surprisingly in
Diego?
San Diego, I think it's been a little rainier and chillier than it usually is.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's
How's the
okay.
situation? Are you guys on the lockdown? Are you guys on the stay-home order right now?
Yeah, so we've been in pretty much, we've had a shelter in place order since Thursday, March, I want to say it was March 18th.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and
Hi,
it's
Jeremy.
the
So for all the people that are joining right now that are my followers, this is my colleague, my esteemed friend, Dr. Ting Lim, who practices in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and is an aesthetic physician who also is a director of one of the most prestigious global meetings that we have that is held in Kuala Lumpur once a year.
Thank you very much, and I think everybody knows you. Uh, you went to school in Chicago and then in Illinois, and then you did your fellowship in San Diego. Am I right?
Yeah, so I trained at the University of Illinois in Chicago, and then hi Matt, we love you too. And I was fortunate enough to do my cosmetic laser fellowship here in San Diego, where I was able to stay on. And I've been practicing here now for the last 10 years, and
Right,
feel very blessed to be practicing in San Diego.
right. And were you from Chicago
Originally from
initially?
Chicago. My
All right.
parents are originally from Ecuador, and
Right.
they immigrated to the United States in 1966.
Right. And you were working with the famous Mitchell Goldman.
I
And then
am.
are
He's
you
one of my associates, and Richard Fitzpatrick, who is also quite renowned, is my late associate. Hi, Larissa.
wow.
So yeah,
So
what
you
about you? What's the situation in Kuala Lumpur for those that are joining in from the States and trying to get a more global perspective?
right, we are so we started the so-called movement control order. Basically everybody has to stay at home since middle of March. So
Okay.
we have been doing it for close to 4 weeks now.
Yep.
And a week ago, because of the numbers, the government decided to extend for another 2 weeks.
Okay. So
So
mid-May.
mid-May. Well, end of February, end of April.
Oh,
So
okay. Yep.
so we the thing is, the it has been tighter than before. Earlier,
Hi,
there are a
everyone
lot
that's joining.
to go out to get some food, to go, people still go out for a bit, but I think now they also put in the militaries to help to control. So now it's a little bit stricter. Only one person can get out of the house to
Okay.
get the groceries and stuff. And most of us, our practices are all closed
So your practice has been closed in Kuala Lumpur since about
since
mid-March.
mid-March.
Okay.
So we'll be closed until end of April.
Okay. And then is it like a regulated process out on the streets, like in your ability to go and do grocery shopping or other things? Or
Yeah,
is everyone free
they
to do this?
Well, earlier it was a little bit more loose because it allows you to do whatever you need to do. But now, because I think the situation, it has become stricter, and they do have lots of roadblocks to make sure that nobody actually just go out for the sake of like having meeting friends or going.
Right.
So everybody is just confined to their own home right now. It's more of a stricter lockdown.
Okay. Now it's become stricter. Are they
Yeah.
penalizing people that are found not, practicing
Exactly.
social distancing?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So if you go out to for unnecessary, non-essential stuff, you actually get fined for it.
Okay. Okay.
Is it the
Hi,
same
Carla.
over there?
Hi, Diane. Hi, everyone. I'm here just having a chat with my esteemed colleague and friend, Dr. Ting Lim, who's sharing with us his experience in Kuala Lumpur of this pandemic. Here
Right.
in California, there are not as there, yeah, social distancing is in place. People are generally wearing masks when they go out. Hi, Marie. And people are being mindful of washing their hands regularly, and their parks, are closed, as are beaches here in California. But
Right.
it's not as strict as places like Ecuador, where on the weekends the streets are closed down. It is protected by the military, and only one family member is allowed to go out of their house between
Right.
the times of like 8 and 2 p.m. based on your social security number and the number that ends in. And
Right.
only one family member can go out to make the necessary purchases for the family between the times of like 8 to 2. And they are monitoring that pretty strictly. So their quarantine is a lot more different. In Ecuador, I
Right.
know this is similar circumstances in Colombia, where they don't have the number of ICU beds or ventilators, hi Annie, in order to support patients who do get sick. One of my cousins has had the virus, has tested positive for it. He's about 39. And luckily, he recovered fully from it. I
Oh,
have
thank God.
another close friend in Chicago who's an internal medicine pediatric doctor who practices at a larger university setting. And he also has been quarantined at home for the last 10 days.
Okay.
So it's, luckily no one has, passed that I know of. But I
Right.
have had, we have colleagues like Tapan Patel, who was very
Yes.
sick from it in the UK.
Right.
So I think that sometimes people don't realize the severity of the situation until it hits home.
Exactly. Exactly. And how about the restaurants and your practices? Is it business as usual, or you guys have to shut down as well?
Hi, Mara. So our restaurants are closed here
Right.
in California. They've been closed as is churches and malls since, I want to say, Tuesday, March 16th.
Okay.
And they're not scheduled to be open, and schools will now be closed, at least in California, and not resume back until September. How about you guys in Kuala Lumpur?
Same here. All the restaurants are closed unless they are doing the delivery. So
Yep.
some switch to deliver system. They use Grab, which is somewhat like Uber.
Yep. Uber Eats or
So,
DoorDash.
yeah, so that's the only way they can stay open. But most of the restaurants are closed. So if you go online, people are actually making their own food for the first time. So everybody's doing their own
I
cooking
know.
and stuff.
I've been cooking.
Oh, what have you been cooking?
I've been cooking. I can make a pretty good avocado toast with a poached egg now, and
Nice.
I can make a pretty good carne asada, which is a traditional, more Mexican prepared skirt steak.
Nice.
And so it's been good to explore that creative side of myself.
Right. How about gym? Is all the fitness center closed
All
as
the
well,
fitness
right?
centers are closed. Yeah.
So how are you working out these days?
There are some great, really great online yoga classes, as well as
Right.
Pilates classes.
All right.
So I've been taking advantage of that, but I think I'm eating more than I'm working out.
Yeah, I'm doing the same. I'm doing the same. High five.
Yeah.
We know that California is one of the states that declared state of emergency quite early and started the social distancing quite early compared to most of the states in United States. And how's the situation as a whole in United States? Is it?
Yeah, so we put a shelter in place order, I think, a little sooner than some of the other states. And, our numbers have remained relatively low, but our governor is really aiming for more single digit numbers before he lifts that order, where other people may feel like, double digit numbers are appropriate as far as how many people are getting infected. And so I think that what it will ultimately come down to is what kind of rules we'll have in place in order to responsibly start working, working again, while respecting, public health initiatives and keeping the public healthy and safe. I think that we'll ultimately probably end up relying on policymakers and our government to guide us with that decision. But I think that as physicians, who are in contact very closely with patients every single day, we'll have to probably institute, and practice, put some measures in practice to just, not see as many people as we slowly, integrate back into daily practice.
Exactly.
I don't know about you guys. Have they come up with a plan so far as to how they're going to, have people go back into the workforce?
Yeah, we've been talking about it, trying to figure things out. Just yesterday, we had a webinar with Professor Warapong, and tonight I'll be talking to him together about how certain measures will be taken in. And of course, we were talking about certain forms of PPEs or personal protective equipment like face shield and protecting our laser devices from now on, and trying to do more social or physical distancing in the practice to avoid any kind of contagion spread. So these are things that we will talk about tonight as well.
Yeah, it is scary. I have a lot of friends that are in the front lines, whether they're ER doctors, anesthesiologists running ICUs, or even, my sister-in-law who calls on various nursing homes in Chicago. And, from a very beginning, I remember my sister-in-law wasn't getting the right personal protective equipment. And so she made the decision to not go back to work because she has an infant at home, my nephew. But now they're starting to see that hospitals are trying to recycle and sterilize some of these masks, and are even requiring doctors to be responsible for getting their own personal protective equipment. And so I was on a call with a couple of my friends who are on the front lines yesterday, and they're stocking up on their own equipment. And I don't think people realize how committed many doctors are to caring for people and for really flattening this curve, and caring for the people that are so sick that they're putting it on, a lot of these hospitals are putting it on them to protect themselves. And they're not even providing them with the equipment necessary to do their jobs.
Right. Is all the healthcare system overwhelmed in your part of the world, I mean in San Diego or in California itself?
Here it has not been overwhelming, and I think that because we never had a spike in numbers. I know that in other parts of the country, they have had situations where they've been told that you should not resuscitate individuals if for whatever reason they code, because of a lack of equipment to successfully intubate them or put them on a ventilator. So that's quite scary. And that has been the situation in some states.
Right. Do you think this COVID-19 will change the way the healthcare system or change the world in the bigger picture after this pandemic?
I think we'll probably be more conscious, when we hop into an Uber that has maybe had many other riders before we got in it, or the next time we choose to, attend, go to a bar or go to a social gathering. I think, people crave connection. I think we're doing a good job trying to remain social while distant during this time. But there's no doubt that I think that there will be some level of, there'll be an imprint that will have an effect on how we continue to socialize after this.
Right. How about economy-wise? Do you think that it will take some time before it recovers after this?
I do think it's going to take some time. As we've seen, whether it was in the United States after 9/11 or 2008, I think that it will take some time. Hola, doctora Senia, our colleague from Spain. What about you? How do you feel that this will impact the economy in Malaysia?
I think our economy wasn't great to begin with. And, just recently we had a government change, sort of coup d'etat kind of thing going on. And after this, with the oil price plumb and now rising again, and the whole economy, because China has been spearheading the economy in this part of the world. And because of this economy slowdown, I think the repercussion here will be massive. It will definitely take more time for us to recover. And I think one good thing is we now realize how important healthcare is,
Yes.
because we have been taking for granted. But looking at the situation where we still get to sort of get proper healthcare, and the government is still able to provide proper healthcare to every single individual, I think that is one thing that we are blessed.
Yes.
But
and you have colleagues, I'm sure, in China. Are you connected with anyone who's in mainland China right now?
I know, yes, yes.
And what is the situation there, honestly? Because, you know, we get reports and sometimes people believe that it's almost like fake news. What have you experienced, or what have people that you know that are mainland China saying?
Yeah. Well, they say that I think everybody, most people are actually quite satisfied with the situation because
Okay.
it has opened up. And I think they are practicing somewhat of social distancing. And one thing that I think has, because China in a whole, they are very much cooperative with the government, with the
Yes.
policy. And they are very, I mean, it's the first time that people actually think about each other, because
Yes.
they actually take care of, and they've been sort of quite critical for those who are not following the rules and been going out trying to be a vector.
Right.
I think
It's
that
frowned
is one
upon.
thing. Yeah, it has brought the people together at
Yes.
one point. Yes, there's a lot of misinformation. There's been a lot of talks about whether the numbers are correct. But of course, I think China, if it, as we are looking from our part of the world towards China, is we see how they get to control it in a much effective
Okay.
and very bold way, and how they actually not just flattening the curve, but build more healthcare facilities to actually cope with the situation. And it is it's just crazy.
So
They just build hospitals.
my question
Yeah.
is, you know, they can create all the facilities that they want, but who's staffing this? You know, like, I think that we talk about like a decrease or a lack of personal protective equipment, but there's like no mention of, you know, the shortages in physicians and providers that can administer
Yeah.
the care necessary for situations like this.
Yeah, from what I understand, is they mobilize their military's healthcare personnel. They move
Okay.
from all different states into one area. They just come all the way in for nurses and doctors coming to that specific epicenter, and everybody's there. And there are some clips that we saw the when they actually sort of send them off. Everybody's going back to their own states. And there was lots of crying, there's lots of goodbyes, and it was quite, yeah, touching to
Yes.
watch. Yeah. But having said that, I think the thing that we see right now is this world should work closer rather than dividing,
Yes.
because
Yes.
we never know what's coming out next. There might be another COVID 21, COVID 22.
Right.
We
Yeah, it
don't
has
know
been
what's
nice
coming
to see the world mobilize together. You know, China provided us with the DNA, well, with the RNA sequence of this virus in January 11th, so that we can start working on a vaccine, which many different countries are working on right now. There are 2 biotech companies here in San Diego working on it, and one in Israel that I'm aware of, and I know in Germany as well. And so it's nice to see. It almost feels like a biologic war that is being waged on us.
Right.
And it's the healthcare workers that are almost the first line responders in this case, and not so much the military.
Right.
But I would say that instead of a typical war that typically creates a level of divide, it has actually created a more profound level of connection. So
Exactly.
that has been the nice thing. And it also
Yeah.
has created, I think, for those of us who have elected to remain introspective, you know, a more profound connection with ourselves and our real
Yeah.
self, you know? So,
Yeah. You've been always been very busy. You've been talking all the time. You've been everywhere, and then you also talk for Fox, and also you had a program called GIST, right?
yeah, we actually are starting season 2, airs
Oh,
next
hi.
Monday for all of us.
Okay, tell us what is it about GIST?
Thanks.
It's what?
So the gist is a YouTube-based channel that is basically a group of us that came together, 5 board-certified dermatologists here in the United States. Dr. Janine Downey from New Jersey, Dr. Doris Day from New York, Dr. Ruth Daldy from Boston, Massachusetts, and Dr. Ava Shambam from Los Angeles, and myself. And we got together to really put on an educational series for patients from all over the world to talk about things, you know, skin and age related, you know, since today on social media platforms, there's a lot of misinformation, as anyone, you know, can basically be an influencer, and what they state may be followed, even though there might not be as a lot of medical evidence to support the claim. And so we just wanted to be a more scientific, evidence-based you know, platform for consumers and viewers and followers to come on and be able to learn from. So, yeah, so I'm super excited that season
Fantastic.
2.
Great work you are guys doing over there.
Huh?
And you're also doing medical correspondence for Fox, right? You
Uh,
go on there talking a lot on medical
yeah, so I
information.
classically have historically been going to Fox once a week when I'm in town for the last 5 years. Now 6 years, 6 years.
Wow.
And unfortunately, because of social distancing, I haven't been able to go to the station since Wednesday, March
Right.
17th. So I do miss them a lot. They're also putting themselves, a lot of our reporters and journalists are putting themselves at risk as well to keep us
Exactly.
informed and keep providing us information to
Right.
make the right decisions. And so yeah, it's great. It's always been a way to stay on top of things and stay current with the medical literature.
So with this COVID-19, you do have more self time. So what have you been working on? Like cooking or making avocado toast?
So I've been working, I've finished about 6 papers.
Wow.
Yeah, so feeling, you know, productive, things that I've been meaning to get to that I just couldn't get to. And
Right.
so it's been good. And, you know, just being comfortable with not being busy.
I see.
Yeah.
And you do have siblings, right? I saw you were showing photos with your brother.
Yes, my family is in Chicago.
Right.
So I have not been able to see them for the holidays this past weekend. Um, and they're all remaining quarantined and have not seen my parents either, just because my
Right.
parents are in their late 70s. And
Okay.
so they have tried to just kind of protect them from, you know,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I've been seeing my parents since, because yeah, thank God, just
yeah,
trying not to.
they're in a different age group. And I think that that's probably the best way, in addition to washing your hands, to stay ahead of everything. So
Indeed. Yeah.
that's
So
been it.
I guess, and I guess when you go back to work, would you be starting some sort of protective, so-called measures to protect patients and also the healthcare workers?
Yes, I think that we'll probably formulate those ideas as we get more guidance from, you know, our government, to be honest with you. That'll
Right.
probably guide us as to like how we're going to go back to seeing patients, and then also make it a safe environment for the employees that support us.
Yes. Do you, I know some states people actually get laid off during this period of time because the practice is not seeing any patients and our income. Is it happening same in California?
Yeah, I know many colleagues that have had to furlough their employees because it's hard as a small business, you know, to support a payroll. And the government, luckily here, has enacted many different many different plans to support business owners, whether it's some level of tax relief as well as payroll protection programs to support their payrolls, to be able to keep as many people employed during this time as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you foresee that this will end, and when do you think you will start flying again?
I don't know. When meetings reconvene, I don't know. When do you think that we're going to have a meeting again?
Oh, initially I thought after June or July things might get better,
Mm,
but having a look at the situation in the world right now, it might actually prolong. And I
yeah.
think the after effect is probably people would still take some time before they actually get to. I mean, slowly some countries will open up one by one.
Yep.
And the thing is, even though it's open up, I think it takes some time before we are actually comfortable doing things that we want. And lots of us, and after talking to some colleagues, they are more inclined to stay back home
Yeah.
and build out the practice first to make sure that things goes on
Yep.
regular, normally, and before they actually wanted to fly out to do
Right.
unusual talkings and stuff. So would it be the same for you? Would you wait for a while and see?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to wait. And then I'm probably going to be here for a while to, you know, for all the patients that will want to come in and that have been wanting to come in before I pick up and start traveling again and, you know, lecturing
Right.
again. So, well, it's
Yes.
been nice seeing you, Ting Song.
Exactly. Likewise. I'm so glad you're safe and you're doing
Yes.
well.
Thank you.
Hopefully
And
we
it's
get
nice to see
to.
you. And I'm glad that you're doing so well
Thank you.
in Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah, hopefully we get to see each other very soon again. I know Max is cancelled this year, so we'll
Yep,
probably have
I
to wait
know.
for that. But
But hopefully
definitely,
AMWC.
yes,
Okay, my
yes.
friend.
All
Be
right.
well and be healthy.
Thank you. You too.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye, love.
Okay. Bye.